go teach my class now. That's the surrender. Reply. Oh yay! Exclamation point. Oh no! Dot dot dot. Oh yay! Exclamation point. Well, that's good news, weird news, good news. Okay, I'm going to go teach my class now. Period. See you all on YouTube. LOL. Yes. P.S. Reply. P.S. That's two bits of good news we got this morning! Exclamation point. Keep hope alive, family. I love you. Yeah. Okay. Okay, are we ready?
Live.
We're live? Who's in the room?
No one.
No one. Okay. Hopefully that'll be fixed here pretty soon. Let me know when people start coming in, okay?
Alright.
Nobody yet?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, people are here.
Okay, who's here?
Meg, Devin, and Conlon.
Okay, good. Give it another minute.
Testing facility. Today we're going to show you how we test our Platinum Shield top of the line car cover.
Anybody just popping in here and watching me work at the computer would pretty much know right away I can't see 2 feet in front of me. It's sad. No, it's fine. We all do what we could do. That's the theme for today, folks. We all do what we could do. But yeah, skip the ad is what I was trying to do there. So I'll be with you in a couple of minutes. I'm getting things set up. hopefully we'll start to get a few more people soon enough, but if not, that'll be okay. It'll be fine. You know, I do post the lecture on YouTube for afterwards, but that doesn't mean that class is optional. Class is not optional right now. Take an attendance like every other fun class that we ever have together. So anyway, we'll move on from that. So hi and welcome to COM 301 for Thiel College radio broadcast production. This week we're going to be talking about radio economics as the lecture, but first I want to do some checking in and announcements and attendance first business to begin with. So let's do that. I wonder if my striped shirt is showing up kind of wonky on video, because I always heard that it's not a great thing to wear stripes or bold prints in video, but you know, I don't really care. Hopefully it's not making y'all dizzy or anything. So this Thursday is gonna be my grandson Hudson's birthday. He's gonna be 8 years old. Big guy. Fun kid too. Alright, so let's go ahead and have you guys check in for attendance. Please post hello and your real name. Hello, we're taking attendance. Please type in and say your name so I know you're here and I can count you.
Meg,
Hey Meg.
Devin,
Hi Devin.
Conlon,
Hi Conlon.
Eli,
Eli W or Eli H?
Chima,
Hi Chima.
W.
Okay. Alright, no Nicholas yet?
No.
Alright, Nick should show up. He's pretty reliable about this sort of thing. William Watkins is having Wi-Fi problems. He just emailed me, so he's been having Wi-Fi problems, and he's going to have to talk to Dr. Butcher, I think, about how to resolve all of this, because especially for this class and for distance learning, I mean, if everything's flipped over to this for the time being, gotta have good Wi-Fi, so, but yeah, you know, hopefully he gets things worked out and you can salvage things, and attendance is now done. I can change it later if somebody like Nick comes in. So let me pull up our notes and see what I want to talk about today. There are a few things. One thing I want to say before I launch into other stuff is that Megan is going to be working with people who need help with Live 365. So if you need help with how to upload, how to make a voice track on your phone, and how to, or whatever device you're using, and how to then label it and get it uploaded onto Live 365, Megan is acting as co-teacher assistant in this class with John, and she's going to be handling that end of it, because I've got John pretty busy making videos, and he's also been helping to set the schedule. So I really like Live 365. I think it's pretty user friendly. It's not hard to screw up, but you see the way my computer looks, like my display, the commands are to ignore a lot of little icons and pictures and things, because I can't recognize them anyway. If I saw them on a white background with just the pictures, I wouldn't pick them up. So therefore, a lot of these functions and commands that you have to use to upload stuff and normalize it and all that kind of thing, label it, schedule things sometimes, like I don't see those little features. And so Meg is going to be helping with that part of it, and John is helping with that part of it and other things too. Sometimes, kids, it takes a village. What can I say? But again, you know, it's not hard to do. It's not difficult. So if you need help currently getting your Live 365 playlist show put together, Megan isn't going to upload stuff for you or whatever, but she'll walk you through via email or WhatsApp or TikTok or I don't know, whatever it is you kids play with to keep in touch with each other. She'll get you hooked up and how to use it. Megan Hapler is her full name. If you need to figure out how to email her, because, you know, I don't have her email address right at my hand at the moment, you can go onto Moodle to the email function on our Moodle page for this class, click on it, look for Megan and email her. Kaboom, there it is. Otherwise, Megan, do you want to post your email address for people who might need help with Live 365, and the rest of you get out a pen or get ready to copy down her email address, because here you go.
Tay's here.
Who?
Tay.
Oh, okay. Hi, Tay. Tay, Megan is posting her email address. She's helping people with their Live 365, getting through sticky parts that they don't understand. I'm sure other people who've had success with this, like Nick or Devin or Eli W., right? Eli, you wouldn't mind helping people too, would you? I'm sure you wouldn't. You all help each other anyway. So, you know, that's what we have to do in these times. We have to help each other through. Did Megan post her email address yet?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Tell me these things, John. You're a terrible narrator. Just saying. Explain when people come in and tell me if someone posts. Those kinds of things. Okay? Okay. Everybody's learning here. So just a quick update on this whole situation that we're in with the coronavirus pandemic and having to shelter in place in most states. That's the law, and in every place else, I hope that people are being sane and doing this anyway and practicing social distancing, right? It's important right now. The virus, if you've heard in the news, is way out of control, especially in New York City, where all my family is from, and where I'm from, where I go to a lot. My son is turned the corner today, broke his fever. He doesn't have a fever anymore. He does have pneumonia. After a couple of weeks of waiting on his test results, he's finally gotten them back. That's crazy, right? It's New York City. This is the United States of America. You can find out you're pregnant in seconds, but you can't. There's so much. The system's overwhelmed. It's overloaded. And that was part of the concern about if this virus got out of control, is that the infrastructures we have in place in our society to keep things from completely falling apart would be overloaded and couldn't handle what's going on. So the last place you want to be right now is in the emergency room anywhere in New York City, and so he's tried to avoid doing that, but he did go because he has pneumonia. But he's turning the corner and he's doing better, and while his wife Brittany isn't feeling great, she isn't as symptomatic as he is, so we're hoping it stays that way and that she just has a bad cold, but unlikely. Maybe she just has a mild version of coronavirus because it's everywhere. My sister Christine has cerebral palsy, and she lives in a group home on Eastern Long Island. It's very nice. The people there are wonderful. She's been there for 25, 30 years, a long time. And she's very happy there. Chrissy is 55, but she has a lot of medical compromises. She's very medically fragile. She gets pneumonia really easily and other things that go along with being sitting in a wheelchair your whole entire life. Your body's not meant to do that. So, and other things that she was born with. And she lives in a house full of medically fragile people. You know, she's one of 12 in this group home with staff that come in and out in the middle of the epicenter of all of this. And yeah, her roommate now is tested positive, her roommate Gwenny. So, you know, we're just kind of hoping and praying that it doesn't spread further, that the staff noticed in time that she was sick, but who knows what's going to happen with that. And then my Aunt Linda is dealing with bone cancer right now, went for her first chemotherapy treatment last week in the middle of all of this, very sick, and we're really worried about her. She's my mom's third sister, and she's like the most wonderful person, and she's just the nicest person. And by today's standards, you know, she's 72, she's not that old. She still has a good 20 years left in her according to my standards. I don't know about yours. But, you know, my cousins, her kids are really awesome people, and they're a wreck right now because she also has coronavirus. And so on top of fighting bone cancer and the side effects for the treatment of all of that, now she's having to go through fighting this invisible enemy that's bringing us down. So when you're complaining in your head about all the things that you're losing this semester and all the things that you're not able to do right now, I want you to remember that you have more choices than like my son does at the moment, or my Aunt Linda, or, you know, you're not in the same imminent danger as my sister Christine in her group home, where it's going to spread like wildfire. No joke, right? So try to keep some perspective about all this and count your blessings and see how maybe you could be a positive force with all of this. And the more I think about our Live 365 platform, and, you know, what can you really do in a time like this when I can't go to my son's house and help him? I can't even visit my Aunt Linda in the hospital. She's not allowed visitors. And Christine's house is on lockdown and quarantine. What can you do at a time like this? Well, you can do stuff. A lot of artists are reaching out, a lot of musicians especially, but actors and comedians too, and making videos. You see like late night talk shows doing it from their homes, and it's very rudimentary and rough around the edges, but it's great to still connect with them and know that they're, you know, we're all like having this shared experience right now that's tough to go through, but we're getting through it, and we get through it by reaching out to each other however we can, right? In whatever way we can right now. Uplifting people. So here we have this Live 365 platform that the department's paying for. You're getting credit for doing this. And it's a gift to people who might trip across it and just be having a really lousy day, moment, experience, whatever. What can you do? You can uplift them. You can put positive messages out there for people to trip across and hear. You can give them your perspective and your feelings and let them know that they're not alone. People will be listening to this the more the playlists start to grow. And so we have a few weeks here left in the semester that you have a chance to have this semester not be a total waste for you, right? You can't be on your team right now playing whatever sport it is you're playing, softball, track, any of those kinds of things. Got it. Basketball, got it. I know, that's bad. We're not socializing with each other on campus. Going to school this way is a pain in the butt. If your technology is not working, you're totally screwed. There's a lot of things going wrong in your life right now. But more than other people, things are going right for you, right? Right now, for you, if you're not sick and no one in your immediate family is sick that you're having to take care of, if you're not worrying about somebody, and all you're doing is kind of feeling bad for yourself because you can't do what you want to do, a way to change that is to do what you can do, right? So there are things you can do. You can go for a walk around the block. You can go for a walk in your neighborhood and kind of see it in a new way for the first time. You can, you know, open the windows in your house if it's above 50 degrees and let fresh air in. You can have a schedule to your day and get dressed like a normal human being and still participate in life. There's a lot of things you can do to uplift yourself, and there are things you could do to uplift others. And if that means a FaceTime call to your grandparents, or reaching out in an email, sending a funny joke that you come across, or any of those kinds of things, do that. If we can't hug each other, we can at least send each other some electronic and digital love. And for right now, that might have to do. So here we are with this digital love platform, Live 365. And Megan is totally willing to help. I know my stepson John is willing to help. John, would you be able to give your email address to people so that they can get in touch with you too if they have a question?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys the count of like 4 to go grab a pen or have something to write down. And John's, can you post your email address?
Just did it.
Okay, coolio. All right. So John's another resource. Like I said, if my eyesight worked better and I didn't have to do all this wonky cuckoo stuff to my screen, I could help you too, just like with Adobe Audition, but I am limited by my disability. On the other hand, the double bonus for you is maybe you have to deal with a wacky professor who has a disability, but aren't I fun, right? Aren't I kind of kooky and fun? Anyway, all right, maybe not so much. Maybe I'm corny, but it doesn't matter. I'm yours and you are mine for this next bunch of time. And so let's get to work. Oh, so just also want to remind everybody that if the stream goes down, don't go away. Stick around. We'll get it reconnected. Stuff happens. We'll get it fixed. And if anyone outside of our class is popping in to see what's going on here and what this stream is all about, this is a video lecture that's a substitute for a face-to-face class from Thiel College's Media, Communications, and Public Relations Department. The class is radio broadcast production, and you'd probably be bored senseless if you stuck around. But either way, if you post anything, you're going to be muted either by one of my 2 minions. It's either going to be John or Megan, depending who you irritate first. So welcome to hang around if that's your thing. You just like to drop in and see what random people are doing. Voyeuristic of you, but interesting anyway. Stick around if you need to, but otherwise, if you interrupt the class and you become a problem, then we'll just mute you and, whatever. All right. Enough of that. It's a weird world that we live in anyway. The idea of if you can't do what you do what you can really occurred to me this morning. I was watching Morning Joe show on MSNBC. It's like a morning talk show that's kind of current events and politically focused. And surprised that I watch them. Are you? Okay. Anyway, so they had John Bon Jovi, the musician John Bon Jovi, on today talking about a song that he's writing. He's in the process of writing called If You Can't Do What You Do, Do What You Can. So for those of you who don't know, John Bon Jovi's from New Jersey. It's another really hard-hit area. He has a restaurant that he started back in 2008 that serves people who are homeless or in need or at like a food risk in their lives. And so what you do is you drop in, you have whatever you want to eat, but you also get to work that off in some way. Like maybe for a half an hour you have to do the dishes or bust some tables or, take an order for other people. Like you have to chip in and help. So you'll have your lunch, and then after lunch go in the kitchen and maybe do some dishes or put things away or help chop onions or something as a volunteer. Well, right now they can't have volunteers in this facility, even though it's a food place. It should be open. It can only be staffed by paid employees because of the regulations with the coronavirus and quarantining and all that stuff. So John Bon Jovi's come out of retirement because the old guy like me, I'm not a guy, but he's old like me, come out of retirement and is doing the dishes and things at this restaurant to keep it open for people who are at food risk, so that they have. Anyway, so he's writing this song called If You Can't Do What You Do, which is for him maybe play music or whatever else he does with his days, he writes and things like that, then do what you can. And so there he is doing the dishes in his restaurant because that's what he can do right now to help. So that's the whole idea behind, the Live 365 thing that makes it a little bit more meaningful for us. This semester isn't going to be a total waste for you people. No, you can't play softball, baseball, run track right now. You can run all you want to as long as you don't run 6 feet close to people. But, you can't participate in the things that you love to do so much, but you are in a few weeks going to get credit for all of the work that you've done throughout this semester. That's not a total loss. And if you pull it together, even starting right now, you can pass this class, even if you've had a difficult time participating up till now. So, but it's up to you, the excuses that you make for not being able to meet deadlines or to pull things together or read further in the help instructions in the Live 365 platform or any of that, that's up to you. Online learning is self-motivated in nature. That's part of the nature of the beast. There's no one standing over you all the time, forcing you to watch this video or hand in this assignment. This has to come from within you. So you have a choice about how you want to salvage the spring of 2020. Does it get to be a total washout for you and a waste? Is that what happens? Or does it get to be you've accomplished at least something toward your graduation and the rest of your life? So life isn't over because of this. It's just temporary. Keep on trucking, keep on doing your thing. Do what you can. And what you can do is this. So check in with Megan or John if you need assistance on the Live 365 platform. Email them. They will help you whatever way they can. They're good that way, and they're nice people too. So there's that. All right. Any questions so far before I launch into looking at Moodle? Okay. And remind me, John, that I have to fix attendance after class, okay?
Okay.
Alright, so let's go back to our class, and I want to review what we have going on for Moodle this week, what your assignments are. If you've lagged behind in the broadcasting part, and you're also just kind of blowing off the forum assignments that are on Moodle, or the think responses, or the whatever quiz I put up, you're really blowing your grade totally out of the water for no reason. These are not difficult assignments. They're designed to re-engage you back into learning in this class. Right now, this is a little on the remedial side because this isn't the platform you guys signed up for, and I have to get you used to it. And aside from that, you kind of been thrown off your rocker a little bit, and you need to be a little reoriented. I'm a teacher, and I know that about people when we're going through a weird time, that you need to have a little extra learning curve and room to learn things a new way, to do them a new way, and that's what we're doing here. So, all these links that are up here about AM and FM and, going through that, do you wonder if at the end of the semester I might be, our final might be a 20 or 30 question quiz based on some of the videos that I posted on Moodle over the last few weeks? Do you ever wonder that? Because I didn't put them up there for no reason. I put them up there because it supplements your learning, because there's things in there I want you to understand and know that maybe I haven't talked about or haven't been able to talk about as much as I would like to. So, online show log number 1, everybody's gotten a grade for that. That's submitted by now. If by tomorrow your online show log number 1 is not into me in Moodle, it's going to be a 0. And that's that. I mean, you'll have to go to online show log number 2 and submit that and just accept the 0. If you don't have your online show playlist put together by tomorrow night, if you haven't gotten that pulled together and accomplished, online show number 1 is going to have to be a 0, because we have to move forward with this. even if you're stuck at a hump in the road and it's like on you to have to figure out how to get past it, because I've given you the resources to do that with. Aside from doing it for you, I'm not going to do that. I've given you all the resources you need to learn this. You're not here for me to do things for you, make it easy. Like, you're here to learn how to do these things, and that's what you're doing, right? You're learning how to do these things, and to the point where some of you have learned it so well you can teach it to others. That is teacher gold. That's teacher success times 1,000. When I know that I've got students who've caught on to something well enough that they're able to help other people catch on, that's good stuff right there. So use the resources that are out there, stop making excuses, and start to get this pulled together. It's not hard, and even those of you who are lagging way far behind, if you pull it together this week, have an opportunity to be able to still pass this class. So all those articles and things that are up there, the Think Response that's there, like, not a lot of people did that project. That's an easy grade. It's not hard. So you just have to watch the video history of the American DJ and then answer the prompt that's there, and boom, you get a grade. So we have office hours this Wednesday from 11:30 to 12:30 here on Moodle. Look for the chat link in our block for this week, April 1st to the 7th. I know today's not April 1st, but it's just falls within this block, because remember the wonky cuckoo way that distance learning has its dates go. It's usually Wednesday to Tuesday. So that's why we have April 1st to April 7th. So this week we're going to be talking about radio economics, and I have a video here that I want you to watch. It's an episode from a series that used to be on TV in the 1970s called WKRP in Cincinnati, and it's a really, it's funny to begin with. It's a sitcom, but it's really pretty realistic about how radio stations functioned, especially in those times when FM was a big deal and radio was still like a mainstream medium that a lot of youth went to. And just kind of the nature of the business of working at a radio station, a music-oriented radio station. So there have been other programs like talk radio and other sitcoms throughout time that have had radio as the background. Frasier, for instance, he's a talk radio host. He's a psychiatrist that gives out radio psychiatry advice, right? So but this WKRP in Cincinnati, in a fun way, really captures the feeling of what it was like then and what it still is in many ways like to work at a radio station. The technology is different and style is different, but it's still the same dynamics and things that happen in this field that haven't changed much, like how quickly tastes change or formats change at a radio station, and you could lose your job or just get completely upended, and what it's like to gain success in this field and then lose it and sort of be in a place you didn't expect you were going to be. That's a lot of what WKRP in Cincinnati kind of focused around. So it's a 1970s sitcom about a faltering FM radio station that changes formats and direction from a beautiful music format. So beautiful music meaning like Frank Sinatra and Perry Como and Henry Mancini Orchestra, things that are very Tin Pan Alley sounding from the early 1950s and before, is beautiful music, and soft jazz type stuff. So it changes formats from that to a top 40 adult contemporary station. So they're basically playing like all the kind of pop rock hits that are out there. After watching this episode, what are some other ideas that you would have to help WKRP make a transition and a profit? So in this episode, you're seeing the kind of moves that the new program director that's hired to change things for the station has to deal with, and the things that he implements. What are your ideas? How would you help the program director of WKRP in Cincinnati? His name is Andy Travis. What advice do you have for Andy Travis on how to make WKRP more successful? That is your forum exercise. So, your discussion post for this, like, your initial advice for Andy Travis is worth 60 points, and your replies, you have to have 2, are 20 points each, equaling 40. That's 100 points. Do that assignment and, have complete, sensible posts, and you could get an A in that, and there you go. It's helping to revive your grade a little bit if you're in trouble. Anyway, this is the link to that episode right there, so you need to get that done. Here's your show log online number 2. So if you have your second show log ready, submit it there. And then your online show number 2, this is where I'll put your grade in for that. Once you let me know that your show log, that your show playlist is ready on Live 365, I will review it. John will schedule it in. Don't you schedule it anymore, because John's going to do it a different way. I want to have all the shows going one right after the other, after the other, after the other in a row, rather than the way they were on the schedule at WXTC on campus, because it's too random that way and you'll get missed. So what I want to do is have them all in a row and then have him repeat that every day. So probably like the first of our playlist shows would start in Live 365 at 10 a.m. in the morning. That's what's happening on Live 365 right this minute, actually. John started this process. So there's one playlist, another, until the ones that have been built and submitted are all run through for the day, and then it repeats the next day and the next day and the next day. So there's like a block of time from 10 a.m. to maybe 6 p.m. when it's all you guys, if you get your shows done. So that's how I want to make that work. So don't worry about scheduling it anymore. Just email me and say, my playlist is ready for review. I'll check it out. I'll let John know, or Megan, and we'll get it scheduled that way. Everybody understand that? Okay? Okay, if you don't, email me and let me know. And remember, I have office hours tomorrow, so you could come online to Moodle and chat with me in the Moodle chat thing, and we can talk more about it if you need to. Alright, so, and then there's the rubric. Again, it's the same as last week. It'll be the same next week of what you're evaluated on for your playlist show. Your intro track is the most important one, and then you should have 3 other content voice tracks throughout. So one of them could be your outro, and then just 2 breaks, something like that. You need to have at least 2 breaks in your playlist as well. That's important. So you need to have 2 commercial breaks. You have to have your intro track, and then 2 voice tracks for within the show, and maybe an outro track. So that's 4 altogether. That's a total of 40 points, so they're obviously 10 points each, right? And then overall content and playlist, so that's looking at the composition of it and how you've put it together. Does the music flow well? Did you put your voice track in a good place for back selling or front selling? Just the way you put it together. And what's the quality of the music that you picked? Does it, represent you well? And so especially for this week, I want you guys to be thinking about uplifting people, right? Being positive, sending out positive vibes to the universe, because right now we need it. And doing this will help that. So that's your... That's it. That's your only assignment for this week, actually, is just your forum. And if that's your only assignment for this week, you can say thank you and go back and finish the work that you have not yet completed, if that's you. Get that done. Get it in. So, in the meantime, this week, the only real assignment besides pulling your show together is your form grades. So show logs have to be submitted. Online show, you have to email me and let me know that it's ready for review. I will review it. John or Megan will schedule it, and then we'll go from there. Then I'll grade it. So everybody clear on that? If you're not clear on it, I don't know because John went downstairs for a minute, so he's not reading the text. Should be back in a minute though. All right, so done with Moodle for a moment, and I want to start talking about radio economics. So that's what we have going on here. Just make sure that I got everything. All right. So, and like I said, I've done some grading so far. People who have done their shows submitted their show logs. You should see your grade for that, your grades for those things in your student report. And if you submitted your think response, that got graded. So stuff's done. I'm doing stuff. I'm not answering the phone though. Somebody else should answer the phone, but it isn't going to be me. Oh, working from home is so much fun. Like I said, I don't feel so bad when the cats run through or the phone rings or I cough or because I'm looking at Stephen Colbert. Well, not him so much, but like Seth Meyers and Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon all doing this from their homes, and they apparently got lives too. It's kind of crazy. It bleeds right over into their shows because they're doing them from home. I guess there's a reason we go out to work is all I'm saying. All right, so talking about going out to work, we're going to talk this week about radio economics, and so start the conversation today about this and finish it on Thursday. So it's 10:15 right now. I'll probably talk about this for about 20 minutes, and then on Thursday we'll finish up this lecture. All right? So, radio stations are businesses, or at least they need to be able to support themselves. If they're non-commercial in nature, if they're public radio or part of a college, they need to at least produce some income to be able to support themselves and some of their expenses. It doesn't matter if your organization is profit or for-profit, they all have the same expenses. And this matters in terms of keeping public radio on the air or non-commercial radio, how that funding happens and that expenses are met. Because the mission and the goal of those kinds of stations is to serve the community and the public, right? That's what they're there. It's not to make a profit. But if you're a business person that's bought a radio station in the media business and you invested in it, you expect a return on your investment. It's a profit. Its main goal for that station is to turn a profit. Its secondary goal is to serve the public, but its first goal is to turn a profit. And the logic behind that is it can't be there to serve the public if it doesn't turn a profit. So let's talk a little bit about what kind of income a commercial radio station is able to get. Like, what is its income? How does it make money? Well, the first thing that radio stations, especially small local networks, but all radio stations, from Manhattan, New York City to Peoria, Illinois, they all have local advertising. So Bob's Sleep Store or Joe's Shoe Emporium, local businesses. They all run national advertising too. That's down here as well. So they'll run commercials for McDonald's or Toyota or Geico Insurance. Those same sorts of things that you see on television, right? So they also get a revenue source, and how much they are paid, it coordinates with what their listening base is. So it's partly to do with their Nielsen ratings. Nielsen is a company that takes ratings of broadcast media like television and radio, lets markets know where they stand in terms of listenership. Nielsen ratings are what deems how much you can charge for commercials in your sitcom on NBC. Nielsen ratings are also what tells a local radio owner like Joe Vilke at Cool 101 in Meadville, Pennsylvania, how much he can charge for a national or even a local spot for advertising. It's based on the amount of listeners that you have. So the better your signal is, the bigger your encatchment area is. Your encatchment area is how far can you reach, right? What's your reach? How far are you allowed to go according to the FCC? Because just because you have the power doesn't mean you're allowed to go there. Your license specifies how far you're allowed to go. So within that encatchment area that's designated by the FCC, how many potential listeners do you have to your station? And what's their demographic too? Like, advertisers need to know who they'll get to reach out to. So for a company like McDonald's, they don't really care about the demographics so much, except the type of commercial that they would put on the radio or on television depends on the demographic that they're trying to reach. So is it a more youthful, upbeat sort of McDonald's commercial, or is it one that maybe appeals to middle-aged, family-oriented kind of folks, right? Depends. So again, knowing your demographics, knowing your listeners, knowing your market. Of course, certain genres just naturally appeal to certain demographics, so it's not so difficult, just like when you're advertising in a magazine, to figure out what magazine to advertise your wool in. It would probably be Knitwear Daily and not Go Fishing Digest, right? So same thing with radio advertising. And so the amount of money that they're able to ask for local or national advertising depends on the size of their listening audience and what the demographic is. And so that's a main part, that's the mainstay of their income. And when when a radio station's being programmed for a week or a month at a time, usually it's by the week, depending on the station though, they'll have the advertising go in first, and then the music is built in and around that. Again, it's a lot like with news, print news, they have what they call the news hole. So in print copy edition of a newspaper, they lay out all the advertising first and then put the news around it. That's called the news hole. It's the hole that's left after the advertising. Well, there are certain things that the FCC requires that are programmed into a radio station, like public service announcements, the weather, legal IDs. There are certain things that you want to program into your seeing this when you're making your shows right now. You want to put some branding or flavor or spice into your playlist with stingers and liners or sound effects. What kind of promotional ads do you have to run for that week? For the station, for clients who are advertising with your station. All of those things get built into the play log first, and then the music gets put in. Now, most programs that people use, they automatically can pull from the library, the program can, songs that are a certain time length, so it fits into the time that's allotted for music. So you'll have like 3 songs maybe picked into music blocks that are all a certain time, but it adds up to enough time. And the software knows to create an hour clock. So that's how all of that works. If you're working at a commercial radio station or even a non-commercial radio station, that's how the clock is basically put together with have to have stuff in there first and then the fun stuff afterwards. So another way that a commercial radio station brings income is by personal appearances and remote broadcasts. So this is not necessarily an event that the radio station's putting on to promote itself. It's generally part of an advertising package. So if Miller's Food Emporium is having a grand opening during the coronavirus for curb service, maybe Joe Vilke would come out with his mobile DJ unit. It's in a van. it would only have to be him to sort of like remotely broadcast from there. Okay, that would be more fun if we weren't in a pandemic and under quarantine because people can't all gather around and go to this. All right, it works better when we're not in a pandemic, is what I'm saying. But you get it, right? There's a grand opening for a store. The store is advertising with the radio station. Part of the package is, but it's an extra. It's an add-on, so it costs more to do this. You don't just get this as a gift from a radio station. If someone is appearing, if your local radio station is appearing at the newest Five Guys and Fries restaurant in your neighborhood, it's because they're being paid extra to do it. They do put on events and things to promote themselves and to brand themselves. You saw we were going to do that with we've done it in the past, but with the music festival for WXDC, that's the point of that. It's a public service, it's a community service, it's an event, it brands the station, and you know, that's what all radio stations do. So national advertising and then miscellaneous other things. One thing that radio stations are able to do, especially nowadays, is a lot of in-house production work, and they charge extra for that as well. So if you are an entity trying to put together a podcast and maybe you would go to Vilke Communications. I'm giving Joe a lot of business today. Or Forever Broadcasting or something and say, do you have like audio production services? And they would say yes or no. And usually their their production director who does all the in-house producing for the station itself is also somebody who would work with you on a podcast, or maybe you want to create a bit of advertising that isn't just going to go on that radio station but on many others, or so any other kind of audio production needs that you would have. Oftentimes the public can reach out to a local radio station and see if there's any of their on-air talent that does DJing for big events, and emceeing and hosting is another thing that it kind of falls under the public appearance stuff, right? Let's say the local hospital is having a fundraiser for getting supplies, or all of this is over. Let's pretend all of this is over, and now Meadville Medical Center is having a big celebration for their employees who worked so hard to pull the community through this terrible time, right? Maybe they would contract with Joe Vilke or another radio station in the area and have them come and MC that event, and they would get paid for that. So those are the sources of income that a radio station can get. They don't get money for playing records. In fact, they have to pay to play the records. They have to pay BMI and ASCAP fees. So let's talk about what they do have to pay. Because just like a family or any other business, they have regular monthly expenses that they have to meet. So the FCC and government fees are a yearly thing that have to be paid, and they vary depending on your license. Subscriptions to things like music, news, traffic shows, you ask? What are those? Well, a traffic show, hold on a second, I'm going to make you think about it for a minute. It's not about traffic, though. It's not about cars. Alright, a traffic show is a show that you bring in. You usually pay to bring it in. So when you're simulcasting or a syndicated show like Alice Cooper or various other shows that are on broadcast radio that are national, those are considered traffic shows. On public radio, or a lot of times you'll hear little vignettes of like 3 to 5 minute shows that just take up the amount of time that a song would, and so it's a public service to the community to do that, It also brands the station as being a place for information and resources. So you might hear a traffic show like Earth and Sky that talks about the relationship between astronomy, not astrology, not like what's your sign, but astrology and the Earth. Science and the Sea is another show like that. And so they're just a few minutes long and you might hear them after the top of the hour. That's a traffic show. If you're bringing in national news, like ABC News at the top of the hour or something, that's a traffic show. And those all cost subscriptions. If you are a public radio station and you play anything from NPR, that is so expensive. Like, this is why they have to have these fundraisers all the time, because they're super expensive to have the NPR news, I think, in the morning edition, and maybe the evening, all things considered edition. I think it's $45,000 a year. I could be wrong, but that's like where I know it's crazy expensive, and that's the last number that I remember hearing about that. So, radio stations also have to advertise on their own, so sometimes you'll see an advertisement for a radio station on television. They have to pay for that. They have to pay insurance. They have to pay business insurance and auto insurance and, building insurance maybe if they own the building that they're in. They have to pay employer contributions to, workers' compensation and unemployment insurance for their employees. They also have to pay their talent and their staff, right? Talent staff. On-air talent oftentimes also has a staff role anymore to kind of help. And technology makes that more possible for radio stations to do that, to have like the guy who's the morning show talent be also part of advertising outreach.
Evan Young is here.
Oh, hi, Evan. Evan Young?
That's what it says.
Hi, Evan Young. You're not in this class, right? Email me and we'll talk. Anyway, so back to radio. So you have to pay your talent and your staff, and oftentimes talent in a radio station and commercial and non-commercial, they wear a couple of different hats. So maybe on-air talent is doing voice work for commercials. They're also writing copy. Maybe they're helping with promotions and promotion ideas. Maybe one of the on-air talent is also the music director or the program director. So they have to wear a lot of different hats to make it work financially. During 1990s, the mid-1990s, the Radio Communication Act, the telephone, and there was a Communications Act that went into play, kind of like bring down the cost of telephones and cell phones and make it a little more of a competitive market. It also allowed for corporations to come in and buy a lot more media outlets within a certain market than they used to be allowed to. Before that time, they were restricted from doing that so that they wouldn't create a sort of single mindset in a community where they weren't hearing other voices or other points of view. It was kind of considered a monopoly to have, a few newspapers as a media company, a few newspapers, maybe 2 television outlets, and 3 radio outlets within the city of Pittsburgh, maybe, something like that. It would be like you're the only lone voice in the wilderness here, and there's no room for other points of view. So the FCC wasn't allowing that. And then that sort of changed with this act, and larger national radio networks like Cumulus and Sinclair and CBS and stuff like that, they were coming into local regions and buying up local radio left and right because they could have more. And they thought, math is math, 2 and 2 makes 4. If I have more stations, it will equal more money, but that's not true because the overhead in any kind of media production is really large, and you're seeing that. And, you have to also, to be able to make it in a small market, you have to have a different sensibility going on. It can't be too nationalized. Small towns and communities like Meadville or Greenville or Hermitage or Mercer or Butler or Washington, or even medium-sized cities, they like to have the local connection and the local flavor. And when there's too much national, you get a feeling like it's mass-produced factory radio that's very impersonal. And remember, one of the most important things about radio as a medium is that it feels very personal to people. They feel like you're talking just to them. So that business model started to fail, and these large corporations started to sell off their small market stations. And so networks like Forever Broadcasting or Vilke Communications were able to afford to buy back local radio stations, and then they returned it to kind of a local sensibility. They have some national programming with their news and music that's got a national flavor, but it's also tailored for their region and for the people that live here. And their advertising is some national, but for the most part it's local advertising and local events, and very keyed in to the schools and the sports that are played within the schools and broadcasting those things. So that's, again, another way that radio stations can make some extra money too. Anyway, so they have to pay talent and staff, is what I was getting at there. There's other things. They have health insurance that they have to pay for. There's the chief engineer or the contract engineer that works at a radio station. So WQED down in Pittsburgh, that we simulcast at WXTC in Greenville, they have their own chief engineer that works there 24/7. Well, not 24/7, but he's their full-time guy that does this. He also handles some of the work that's needed for the television component of WQED. Remember, it's radio and TV, public radio, public television. And so they have their own chief engineer. But a station like ours or other small stations do not. So we have a contract engineer, and that's a service that takes care of your engineering, calibrating equipment, monitoring things, upgrading things. If something goes catastrophically wrong, that's who you call. And for us, that's Joe Vilke from Vilke Communications. He does a really great job, and he's local and easily accessible. And it's not easy to find somebody to fill that need. So if you have a flair for technology and you really like that stuff, and maybe you really like IT as well, you like computer information stuff, because there's a lot of blending of the two things, right? There's the broadcast technology and the computer technology, the digital technology, that's all coming together, and that's what runs the station now. If you like those two things and you like to be around the vibe of a place that's creative and media oriented, becoming a contract engineer or radio engineer is very profitable, and it's a good field to be in. You make decent money. Equipment maintenance is another thing that you have to think of paying for. And then state, local, and federal taxes. If you're a business, you are for profit, you are paying taxes. And then you have other miscellaneous expenses. I mean, think about any other business. It would need office supplies and housekeeping supplies and outdoor maintenance things. Maybe your building has a little bit of a front lawn or a parking lot that needs to be maintained, and other miscellaneous expenses related to that. You've got rent and mortgage and the electricity bill, which is enormous with the electrical equipment that's running, and the phone bill, and you have to either heat it or air condition it. This equipment is sensitive, and it can't be subjected to a lot of humidity or extremes in temperatures, so you have to regulate that or your equipment will be lost. You have to pay for vehicle maintenance and gas and promotions and marketing, and I think that goes under advertising. So that's all the stuff that you have to think about if you are a commercial radio station, balanced against your limited sources of income. you know, the advertising that you pull in either locally or nationally, the public appearances, the ability to be able to do audio production work as a studio that stands aside from the radio station or the broadcast facility. And a few other outlets are how you're able to bring in an income, and the outflow is really big. So, not always the most profitable venture at first. You have to be prepared. Hello, Delilah. To take a loss in the beginning of owning a station, especially if you're reformatting it. I'm trying to see if my cat's around. She could maybe say hello, but she's like a ghost. She comes in, everything's like I said on her terms. But, alright, so back to reality. So that's about as far as I want to go with this right now today. We'll get back together again on Thursday at 9:30 in the morning for class. Finish up the lecture on radio economics and kind of take a look at radio as a profession overall. Like, what are some of the different options if you want to go into radio broadcasting or sound recording, audio production, that kind of work. So we'll be talking about that on Thursday. In the meantime, just a reminder, Megan is more than able and willing to help anybody with their Live 365 uploading advice, how to get your voice track to happen, those kinds of things. John is available also. They both posted their email addresses. For Megan, especially if you didn't get her email address, just go to Moodle, to our Moodle page, scroll down to where you can email people a quick email in the class. You'll find her email right there. Just find her name in the list, click on it, email her. She is more than happy to help you guys with the things that you need to get your show running. Don't feel bad that you're imposing on her, because you are imposing on her, but aside from that, she's getting a little bit of pay for doing this as a teaching assistant, because needed the extra help with this. So Megan's doing that, and John's also available for help too. He gave out his email address. I'm available. Email me if you have questions about the assignments. Remember, you just have the one forum assignment for this week, aside from getting your playlist together. So for the forum assignment, get that done as soon as you are able to watch the video and do the rest of the, pull that together for the assignment. And yeah, because that's the WKRP video. And go back and finish your work from last week. These are not difficult grades. So reach out to me in email if you want to discuss something. And remember that tomorrow I have my chat office hours. I want to say that they're from 11:30 to 12:30. I want to say that. Not 100% sure. Let me look. But this is just another place that you can come and just talk to me about you're confused. You don't know what's going on. You need help. How much do I have to do to get caught up? Am I caught up? Yeah, it is tomorrow from 11:30 to 12:30. If you just want to talk and say hi, that's fine too. But anyway, in the meantime, if you have questions, let me know. And everybody stay safe and practice good social distancing and personal hygiene, and be aware of what's going on around you. And let's try to do something positive for the world right now. Make your playlist, make it upbeat and happy, and talk about things that will help people right now. Whether it's your point of view that somebody can relate to, or an uplifting message or quote, or fun information that might make them laugh, whatever it is, this is what you can do. Because remember, right now, if you can't do what you do what you can do. Do what you can do. Okay? All right, everybody. I'll see you later.